Module 2, Topic 2, Lesson 1. This is Activity 1.3, Proofs of the Congruent Supplement Theorem. Here we go. All right, considering what you know about angles, you might conjecture that if two angles are supplements of the same angle or of congruent angles, then the angles are congruent. Okay, so that's what we're trying to prove. That is our conditional statement. So use the diagram to write the given statements for the congruent supplement theorem. So I am going to use this sentence to help us out. This would be our given information. Okay, oops. All right, so if two angles are supplements of the same angle or of congruent angles. So right off the bat, I can see that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. So I'm going to start with that. So that's the of congruent angles part. And then supplements. So we can see that angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. And we can also see that angle 3 and angle 4 are supplementary. And we're trying to prove that 1 and 3 are congruent. So we're trying to prove that this angle is congruent to this angle based on that amount of information that we have so far. All right, so we're supposed to be cutting out and using the statements and reasons located at the end of the lesson. We're not going to do that. I'm just going to write them down. So here we go. All right, angle 1 is angle 1 is supplementary to angle 2, that's given. Angle 3 is supplementary to angle 4, that's given. And angles 2 and 4 are congruent, that's given. Remember, we just wrote all that down. Yeah. So if we know that angles 1 and 2 are supplementary, then we know that their measures have a sum of 180 because that's the definition of supplementary. So again, that's the definition of supplementary angles. Okay, as well, hold on. Let me just put this all on the same line. It's going to bother me. Fantastic. It's going to be the same thing for the second box here. So the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 4 also equals 180 for the same reason. And then lastly, if we know that angles 2 and 4 are congruent, then we know that the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 4 gross. Okay, and that's based on the definition of congruent angles. I told you this in the 1.2 video, and I'm going to tell you again. Oh, okay, I can't. There's no other space over there. If you're going from congruent statement to an equality or an equation, or if you're going from an equation to a congruent statement, it's probably going to be the definition of congruent something. Congruent angle, congruent segment, something like that. Okay. Moving on to the next box here, we see that if both of these are equal to 180, then we can assume that both of these are equal to each other, like this. All right, and that is by the transitive property. All right, and just to really drive the point home, I'll put this over here. The transitive property can look like this. A equals B, B equals C. So A equals C. It can look like that. Or if you have an equation like x plus y equals z, and then another equation x plus y equals g, as long as one side of both equations match up, then you can set them equal to each other. So so equals g. So an entire side has to be the same in order for us to use it that way. So that's why we used it here because an entire side, sorry, not that side, an entire side of the equation was the same in two equations. All right, moving on. So that is by the transitive property. Now, if we use this information and this information, I have got to say that, oh, yeah. We are going to replace angle 4 with angle 2. Like these. Oh, girl, that 3 is struggling for its life. Oh, my goodness. Come on, stylus. Measure of angle 2. So I took that 4 and I replaced it with a 2 because the 4 and the 2 are equal anyway. So we call that replacement substitution. All right. Now, we got a problem because this is not ready to get there yet. There's one more thing that we need to do in between these dudettes, whatever. So might I submit to the congregation, if we have the measure of angle 1, this is so hard to read the way I wrote it. The measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle 3 plus the measure of angle 2 again. Okay, if we have that, we need to get rid of these two. In order to get rid of those two, we're going to have to take them away. I mean that literally. We're going to have to subtract them. Is that literal? Whatever. I mean that mathematically. So we're going to use the subtraction property of equality to get us here. And that's exactly where we want to be. Okay, so I'm going to write that down a little bit more concisely. So the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 3 by the subtraction property of equality. All right, and then once we're there, we are pretty much done because to go from equal to congruent, we just got to use the definition of congruent angles. Bada boom, bada bing. All right, cut out and, oh wait, that's the same thing. Hold on, disregard that. That was the same page twice, my bad. This 2-column proof. I went ahead and just made it a little bit more concise for you. Now, I know, based on conversation, that some of us are confused in thinking that because of this plus and this plus, the reasoning here should be addition property of equality. That is not the case. This does not have, we didn't add anything to get from step 7 to step 8. We did not add. We subtracted something to get from step 7 to step 8. So whatever it takes to get from 7 to 8, that's the reasoning for 8. All right, moving right along. Oh, just kidding. We're going to stop there. Okay, so we've done all this work, and now we can change this conjecture to a theorem because we've proved it. So that's now called the congruent supplement theorem. If two angles are supplements of the same angle or congruent angles, then the angles are congruent. So we can add that to our list of theorems.